Welcome to the Retro Video Store Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Retro Video Store Podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
And that's my co-host, Neil.
I'm Neil, and who will possibly be joining us next week?
David is supposed to be joining us next week when we talk about The Last Dragon. Show enough.
Show enough.
But yeah, he's out there fighting fires. All of California is on fire, but he's been out there so long, they're making him take mandatory days off. So his mandatory days off will make him come back on the show for a week at least.
Yeah, I'm not so sure if I'm crazy about that idea because I show up to work all the time, and I gotta beg them for time off.
Yeah, nobody says, "Hey, you've worked too much. Go home."
Oh man, you've been going on for far too long, dude. You just need to back off of it and take a few days off. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I will. Mm-hmm. That's what we get for having cushy jobs.
I know, sitting on my ass and getting fat at work. Well, poor David's slaving out there, taking a poop in a hole somewhere and covering it up.
You know what? He's young. Good for him. You do that, Dave, not me.
I wonder if he goes home and he sits on the toilet and it just doesn't feel right. And he has to go poop in the backyard because it feels more natural.
There's probably a lot of stuff that Dave does. It just doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right. He has to grab some leaves off a tree to wipe his ass with.
Can I just say that I think you've given an unhealthy amount of thought time to how he poops.
Nope, that just came into my head right now, so I didn't really have to think about it too much. But
sure, you know what? Mm-hmm. Wink, wink. I believe you.
But today we are in the middle of the dog days of summer, and it feels like a summer camp slasher time. So we're watching a summer camp slasher called The Burning from 1981. It is definitely a summer camp slasher. Is it good? Probably not. Is it a slasher? Yeah.
You once again have caused a great deal of strife in my household with the thoughts of this as the credits start to roll across. And it's like, he's watching rapey Harvey Weinstein movies. Why are we watching this crap?
Because it's the summer. We need a summer camp slasher.
So thanks for that. Mm-hmm. I got to read all about Harvey Weinstein's beginnings from the trivia that my wife read about this. So
yes, this is a very early Weinstein brothers joint. They had produced a couple of music documentaries directed by the director here, Tony Malum. And then they're like, hey, man, Friday the 13th is making some money. Why don't we try our own summer camp slasher? Which, depending on what you read, they say that this movie was in development before Friday the 13th, but it definitely came out at least almost a year afterwards. So
I think that probably, maybe not the first, but definitely the first time Harvey Weinstein exposed himself and asked somebody for a massage.
Well, I'm sure this time. And, well, we'll talk about it a little bit more. Let's do what we always do first. We're jumping the gun here. We need to do what we always do. Neil, what did you watch this week?
Only watched two things because my wife took some time off. I took some time off. We went down to Monterey, and hung out at the beach. I sent you some pictures. You got a bonfire on the beach. You're doing some weird sign language thing that I don't understand. It just kind of hung out. The boy sounds like he had a leak in the house somewhere. The boy's 15. So we're like, hey dude, you can stay here by yourself and do whatever you want to do. I think my wife even DoorDashed him some food. So we watched, I think one of the nights when we just chilled out, we went down, got some food, got some drinks, and then watched, House of the Dragon, which was pretty good. It's a series, so it's not up your alley. And then we watched with the boy. We watched True Lies.
That's a good one.
Yep. Which he enjoyed. He laughed at a great deal. And then I saw and not Alan Cummings, Alan Richmond. Was it Alan Richmond? The dude who played Snape, whose name completely...
Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman. Thank you so much. I saw Alan Rickman like in fleeting as we passed by, and I'm like, I'm in the mood for comedy. So I could not find the movie he did with Kevin Smith, Dogma.
Yeah, Dogma is not. Speaking of Harvey Weinstein, he has pretty much kept that under wraps, and there's been no Blu-ray release, no streaming release, no anything due to legal issues with Kevin Smith, and he refuses to release it.
So I'd watch Galaxy
one more time,
Quest.
Let's go back.
Galaxy Quest instead. Watch Galaxy Quest. This is my time, damn it. This is my time.
That's a good one. Galaxy Quest is a good one.
Galaxy Quest. Okay, Phil, come on. You had things come on.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to rudely interrupt you, but Harvey Weinstein is in the hospital with COVID and double pneumonia. So,
damn. Gosh darn it. Couldn't happen to a nicer man.
Nope, could not happen to a nicer man. But going back to Galaxy Quest, that is a fun movie. I love like the room with like the unnecessary like swinging, like dangers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver's looking good in that one. It's it's a really good movie. And speaking about your son being 15, my son is 16, and it is nice now that they're old enough that you can like go out and hang out in a hotel or go just go out of town or something. It's like a whole new lease on your marriage.
Yeah, it's like this is what it used to be like 15 years ago. I still don't have the same amount of money on hand because obviously children are very expensive, but
yeah.
All right.
It's nice.
Yes. All right. You seem super, super excited. What did you watch?
What did I watch? Lord of the Rings has been on a lot lately on HBO. So I've been watching like a little bit of like The Fellowship and then The Two Towers and Return of the King a lot. Always watch, been doing that. I kind of talked about that last week as well. Andrew and I watched Superbad together. So I felt like, it was time for him to see Superbad.
That's such a great movie.
He really liked it, but he said his high school experience is not quite that fun. He can't relate to some of the stuff that was going on.
Okay, so this is your child's fault because I have personally encouraged him to break some rules and to go out and do some things. And he's like, no, couldn't possibly do that. Your son needs a teenage version of me in his life to take him out of the house and to find these interesting alcohol-fueled situations. Not that you and I ever
remember
did that.
Going with you and to some houses that were a little shady with people that we didn't know, and then
hell yeah,
and one of our friends drunk outside with his shirt off, getting peed on by people on the roof.
So good,
and
so
good. lots of shenanigans.
Yes,
people having parties in abandoned houses that get busted by the cops or deputies, and you're running out in the middle of a field trying to get away from them.
Mm-hmm. So good.
People whose parents,
yes, I was going to bring it up,
were murdered, and the son of the person who was murdered throws a house party in the house like a couple days afterwards.
Yeah,
really weird stuff. Yeah.
I
actually didn't go to that one because I felt it was morally wrong to do that, but that happened.
Yeah. I did not go to that event. I have no knowledge or recollection of it to the best of my knowledge and recollection.
Yeah. Very weird coping skills, but yeah, Superbad. I could relate to it in that kind of like, kind of a nerdy, trying to have fun, not a girl within 20 miles of you. Being awkward,
Was it lube? You brought lube.
Yeah. Fun movie. Been watching a lot of the Olympics, all the obscure sports like badminton's fun to watch, fencing, judo.
Okay, judo not obscure. I'm going to fight you on that one. Not obscure as a
I say
sport.
Obscure in the sense that it's not something you just turn on ESPN and you just watch it. You have to really go find it to enjoy it. Where like dressage and table tennis and badminton and of course women's volleyball. Go USA. Yeah,
yes.
That's been watching a lot of the Olympics.
I could see that would be a sport you would be interested in.
It is a nice distraction during the late summer because football is a month away. In fact, there's a preseason game on the 1st. So in the first college game is on August 24th. So I'm starting to get that feeling for some college football. I almost bought NCAA College Football 25, which is the first NCAA football game in the last like 8 or 9 years. So, but then again, I realized I wouldn't have enough time to play it, so I didn't want to spend $70 on it.
I kind of picture you when there's no sports a lot like that Dave Chappelle character that was always looking for crack.
I do. I get, when the NBA season's over and there's like this long lull. I've been kind of watching WNBA games because Caitlin Clark's, brought a lot of attention to the game. So I watch every one of those every while. But there's just a long dead zone where it's just baseball, and I just can't watch baseball. I can't watch baseball on TV. It's fun to watch live, but and the Rockies are terrible, so there's just no need to watch baseball.
I got the Giants like a half hour away, so it's sometimes fun to go to those.
But we're not here to talk about baseball.
Damn, where's Dave to help save me to talk about something obscure?
Well, I did include a lot of links for us to go on digressions because this movie is very, very simple. There's barely a plot to this movie, so I imagine that we'll be going on quite a few digressions talking about slasher movies in general and horror movies during that time. But this is The Burning from 1981, and this movie is not really well known per se unless you're a horror nerd and you like a lot of slasher movies. This wasn't a big hit or anything, but we'll talk about that a little bit. Do you want to hit us with the Internet Movie Database tagline?
Abusive former summer camp caretaker Cropsey, horribly burned from a prank gone wrong 5 years earlier, lurks around upstate New York summer camp Stonewater with garden shears and bent on killing the teenagers responsible for his disfigurement. 1 comma in that whole word salad. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, there is only 1 comma. Interesting.
Yeah, when there should have obviously been a few others in there, or at least 2 sentences. Yeah, Cropsey. Yeah,
there is actually a legend, an urban legend of Cropsey, and I've included 2 links of there's this one called the Cultural Bestiary fandom about Cropsey the Killer, and there's a real Cropsey, or a guy whose pattern on him. Cropsey was an urban legend of Staten Island through the 70s and 80s. Cropsey was attributed to the disappearance of many children until it was determined that Cropsey was an actual serial killer and kidnapper. Total of 5 alleged victims. And in 1988, he was convicted of kidnapping and first-degree murder, sentenced to 25 years in prison. But there is a more kind of esoteric legend of Cropsey. This one is from astonishinglegends.com, The Legend of Cropsey. And if I can get it to load here, source. The tale of Cropsey's origin and what exactly made him mad are a bit debated, but they begin with a family tragedy. In short, a father loses his whole family, or at least his child, while on the shores of a small summer cottage near Matson Lake. After the death of his family, or child/children, George Cropsey was once a respected businessman goes insane. Typically in these stories, the reason for death is an irresponsible camper or camp staff member causing a fire that gets out of control and kills George Cropsey's loved ones. And then he returns and kills people. So it's one of those urban legends that is mostly known in the Northeast New York State area.
So I've learned a few things from the 80s. And those are that, number 1, camp is going to be an amazing time, full of beer, smoking, and bare breasts. Or 2, that camp is going to be sort of okay coming from a lower middle class background, but I will have to defend said camp against rich kids and eventually, through many montages, come out on top. Or finally, that I'm going to go to summer camp and get my ass killed.
Yes, that's the only alternatives. Either you're in a snobs versus slobs scenario, like Up the Creek or Meatballs or something like that, where you have to, or which was the one that there was a Charlie Brown version of that where they had to Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown.
Yes.
We're on there on the rafts. That'd be kind of crazy if Cropsey went and killed Peppermint Patty.
And there was that whole thing of like movies with river rafting in it. there was like a whole slew.
Yeah. Up the Creek being one of them that I remember distinctly.
I just remember the box, and I remember what that raft looked like in front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That image
Slobs
is burned into my head.
Or murders. So, yeah, that's the only alternative. This movie makes camp look awful. It looks terrible. Just cramped quarters, super hot, pervy guys watching you shower. Just doesn't look fun.
And you can, as a pervy guy, just kind of watch someone shower and like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to talk to him. He's a creep. I'll just talk to him. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, he's fine. He's okay. So this was directed by Tony Maylam, 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 and he really do anything of note, so I didn't include his biography, but he recorded a couple of Genesis concerts live, and they were produced by the Weinsteins and put them out, and then they're like, hey, you want to direct a movie? And he did. Written by Bob Weinstein and Peter Lawrence, produced by Harvey, released on May 8th of 1981, budget of $1.5 million, but only made back $707,000 in the US. So it wasn't a huge hit, but apparently it was huge in Japan. If you read the trivia on the Internet Movie Database, this was very popular in Japan, which is kind of odd. What is the one thing that this movie has going for it? Neil?
Tom Savini.
Yes.
That's it. That's all it has going for it is Tom Savini.
This really is the only thing that this movie has going for it is Tom Savini. And he brings the creative kills and fun stuff to this movie. And this is in the middle of the slasher boom. And we've talked, if you listen to this podcast, you know that we love movies from the early 80s, especially 80, 81. There were so many good slashers. And I included a link. This is to Vulture's Every Slasher Released in 1981 Ranked. And there was a boatload of slasher movies. One called Don't Go Into the Woods, which I have not seen. I've seen previews of it. And then there was a movie called Scream, not the Wes Craven Scream, but there was one that came out in 1981 called Scream. Home Sweet Home, I have not seen this one. Nightmare, I have not seen that one either. Bloody Birthday, I think I have seen. I watched a preview. Bloody Moon, have not seen it. Frightmare, haven't seen it.
I've seen Frightmare. I've seen that one.
A movie called Absurd, I have not seen. I think it's an Italian one. Graduation Day, that is a good one. It's got Linnea Quigley and Vanna White in a very early appearance by Vanna White. We'll have to do Graduation Day someday. Madman, I've seen that one. Student Bodies, I've seen that one. That was like a parody movie. They're already making parodies back then. Hospital Massacre, have not seen that one. Deadly Blessing from 1981. My dad, rest in peace, took us to see. I had an advertisement playing in my ear for a second.
That's
it was
awesome.
weird. You probably know business cards. I'm like, what the fuck?
You maybe lingered on one of the YouTube previews.
Yeah,
a bit too
probably.
long.
Yeah. So Deadly Blessing, my dad took my sister and I to go see this. And this one was freaky. It had a very early appearance by Sharon Stone. And it had Ernest Borgnine as the head of this weird, like Amish cult. And they kept talking about the incubus. And I remember a spider falling in a woman's mouth. That's all I remember about that one. Eyes of a Stranger, have not seen that. Just Before Dawn, I have had that on my list. It's on, I think it's on Tubi, have not seen it. Funhouse, also, my dad took us to see this one. I was 8. And we were seeing slasher movies like crazy. Funhouse scared the shit out of me. Saw this at the Tota Theater. Played video games almost the entire time. You know, my dad gave me like a $5 bill, and I just played video games in the lobby because this movie was too scary for me. I just remember.
See, the more you talk about this, the more it explains to everybody, all 4 listeners, a lot about you.
Yeah, Funhouse. This one we need to do someday because it is pretty good. Toby Hooper directed it. Madhouse, I've not seen. Happy Birthday to Me. Saw that one.
Yes, seen that.
Night School. That's weird. I've not seen that one. Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. I have seen. It was a made-for-TV one. It's one of those movies that you see as a kid and it's just on TV for some reason. Then you go to bed and you're scared because it was like the CBS Sunday night movie. Why did they show this? Oh my God. Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker, I have seen.
Like
really,
how
really
ABC was all like Disney and the Muppets, and CBS was like,
yes,
nope, we're doubling down on this. We got nothing to lose in ratings.
Yep. Remember Kiss Me's a Phantom of the Park was on ABC Sunday night movie one time.
God, that movie was bad.
Hell Night with Linda Blair. That's a good one. The Prowler, which I definitely think we need to do, is another Tom Savini joint. It's kind of like basically the almost like My Bloody Valentine, where the killer, something bad happens and like 20, 30 years ago, later the killer comes back, but it's got some very nice exploding heads and people getting stabbed in the top of the head. It's got some really good creative Tom Savini kills. The girl protagonist is cute. The Burning is number 6. I don't know if it should be that high.
No, it should not.
Yeah. Final Exam, which I have not seen, so I got to see that one. The Fan, this movie, the trailer always scared the shit out of me because the guy's sitting in like the movie theater and his face is halfway painted and he's eating popcorn and there's like a dead person next to him. I remember that used to scare the shit out of me. My Bloody Valentine, that's a really good one. If you see the unedited version, there's some really good kills. And then Friday the 13th Part 2. My favorite Friday the 13th.
Yep. Sackhead Jason.
Yep. And Halloween 2 is number 1. I think I prefer Friday the 13th to Part 2 over Halloween 2.
I would
controversial hot take.
Oh, it's not a controversial hot take. That could almost be a fact.
Yeah.
If you have seen those. And it's okay to disagree with us. Occasionally people are wrong. And you could be wrong because we are not.
Well, Friday the 13th Part 2 is just so good because Sackhead Jason, he's brutal. He runs and you can't get away from him. And he looks freaky, looks like kind of like a hillbilly Jim with facial deformities.
See, that Jason had cardio where Kane Hodder's Jason looked like he had really bad asthma because he would just kind of hop up and just sit there and
breathe really heavy. Yeah.
I'm like, damn, man, like just get yourself one of those little puffers or something like that. I don't know if you can get those things just over the counter. Just get a couple of those in you and you should be good to go.
Mm-hmm. The funny thing about this movie is there are quite a few people who went on to different things, bigger and better things. You have Jason Alexander in his first role as Dave, and he's basically Jason Alexander.
Mm-hmm. Who we're supposed to believe is old enough to, or actually young enough to be going to camp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Totally believable.
And there is Fisher Stevens playing a character named Woodstock, who was rocking the fanny pack way before I knew there was fanny packs. Skinny, weird guy.
Skinny, weird. Well, and considering his size, he looked like he actually probably still could have been going to camp. This movie, I mean, obviously there's big names in it, but this movie was full of characters with me looking at it going like, oh yeah, I remember you from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what from, but man, I sure remember your face. And that's about the extent of it.
Holly Hunter plays a character named Sophie, and I don't even think she has a speaking role. You see her in the background and stuff like that, and you can tell it's Holly Hunter, but I don't remember her speaking at all.
Well, you would have remembered it.
Because she would have been like,
I just don't want Cropsy to come and get us. Shh, Holly, stop.
I love him so much. Give me that baby, Cropsy.
What happened to Cropsy? He's a mighty good cereal flakes. Let's just take this all over.
And Brian Backer is Alfred, the creepy guy, and I just keep picturing him as Mark Ratner in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And I'm just like, maybe this is the year before he met Stacy when he went back to California. It's like, Stacy, remember, I got to tell you about what happened during summer camp. It was totally crazy. Yeah. Then, of course, every time I see Jason Alexander, I just keep seeing Costanza. Like his parents sent him. Watch out, there's a killer. Jerry, man.
You notice that like everyone else is like taking off their shirts.
Yeah.
Like the young guys are taking off their shirts, and Jason Alexander, they're like, dude, the
You can
body
swim
hair,
with your shirt on. It's all right.
you swim with your shirt on. The body hair is a little bit too much to be believable.
So you got Brian Matthews as Todd, who is the senior counselor, but also was there when with his buddies, his dickhead buddies, when they burnt Cropsey alive. Yeah, and nobody else really of any note. But that girl who played Michelle looked familiar, Leah Ayers. She was kind of this older camp counselor with Todd. She looks sort of familiar.
Oh yeah, she was in so much, like, I think it was like all mostly network TV stuff.
Yeah,
I want to say
this movie. Let's hit him with a critical consensus before we start talking about the plot.
Okay. Oh wait. Oh my God. Leah Ayres, Bloodsport, for God's sake.
Oh shit, she was in Bloodsport. No wonder. Oh my God.
No, wait. It's totally gonna hit me. It's totally gonna hit me. I remember. And the other big one,
investigative reporter who's like drags Van Damme down after sleeping with him once. What are we? What are we, Frank? Frank, what are we?
I don't know. I thought that we go boom boom, and then you give me this hard time.
Want to see me do these splits again?
All right, Rotten Tomatoes. This sucker has.
Wait, you said she had another credit though, besides.
The other film I remember her from was Macon's Run, or Eddie Macon's Run.
Okay, it sounds familiar.
It was. I remember going to see that movie with my mom because it had one of the dudes from the Dukes of Hazzard, whose name completely eludes me.
She's a registered master yoga teacher. She's 67. Looks pretty good for 67.
Oh my! Walker, Texas Ranger. She was also on Walker, Texas Ranger.
She was on the A-Team in the Love Boat.
Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yes,
with Chuck Norris. There we are.
She was on Freddy's Nightmares. Married with Children. Walker, Texas Ranger. Sliders.
Yeah, nobody cares. Walker, Texas Ranger.
Freddy's Nightmares too. So,
did I mention Walker, Texas Ranger?
You did. You did mention Walker, Texas Ranger. All right, now I got the Love Boat theme song in my head. All right, critical consensus.
Rotten Tomatoes. You know these boys. Give it approval rating of 77% based on reviews from 13 critics, and it's got an average of 6.9. You want to hear my joke?
Yes.
Do you know what 6.9 is?
No.
It's another good time ruined by a period. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 42 out of 100. I heard that joke. Oh my God. Princess Diaries. I am not remembering anybody's names. The actress who was in Princess Diaries.
Anne Hathaway?
Anne Hathaway. I heard that joke from Anne Hathaway.
All right.
In an interview that she did, and I found it very funny, and I remembered it. So
have you heard that joke about Bono and the Edge walking into a bar? Bartender's like, not you two again.
Good. Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah. You're about the blind guy that walked into a bar, and then the bar stool, and then the door to the bathroom, and then the back wall. That's not nice. We shouldn't have said that. Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 42 out of 100 based on reviews from 5 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. They're not even trying with that. That's like 5 critics. Number of critics noted the film's graphic violence and parallels to Friday the 13th, which was released in 1980, and its sequel. On his weekly sneak preview show with Gene Siskel, Roger Ebert chose the film as one of the critics' Dogs of the Week. Ebert was particularly unimpressed by the film's similarity to Friday the 13th Part 2, another slasher film from the summer of 81 that he despised. Bill Cosford of the Miami Herald praised the film's dialogue.
I can't think of a single line of dialogue that was memorable from that movie.
No, I can't. Bill Cosford of the Miami Herald praised the film's dialogue. There we have it. But he also did praise the special effects as convincing, but similarly noted that it bore too many similarities to films such as Friday the 13th and Friday the 13th Part 2. I mean, really, honestly, you're making a movie about kids getting chopped up at a summer camp. There's going to be some parallels.
Yes.
It's like, I just watched a movie about guys racing cars, and I just saw another movie about guys racing cars. They had to go around and around in a track. They did that in the first film. Why are they still doing that? There's so many similarities. There's so many ways you can get stabbed in the woods. Joe Balltake, I'm just going to call him Balltake. That's probably not the way you pronounce it, but that's what it is now. Joe Balltake of the Philadelphia Daily News also compared the film to Friday the 13th, but added that where the film is periodically nasty. Oddly enough, that was a lot of what I looked for in relationships when I was in high school. The Burning is all nastiness. A review published in Variety was similarly critical of the film, describing it as derivative and overly violent. Janet Maslin, here's our girl. The Burning makes a few minor departures from the usual cliches of its genre, though it carefully preserves the violence and sadism that are Schlock's horror je ne sais quoi. The Time Out Film Guide wrote, suspense-wise, it's proficient enough, but familiarity with this sort of stuff can breed contempt. Kim Newman of Empire magazine was critical of the film for being an obvious imitation of Friday the 13th, but praised Tom Savini's special effects. Allmovie wrote, with deliberate pacing and shocking scenes of full-on gore, The Burning delivers on the creep-out levels and would probably be better regarded if not for the boom of familiar flicks that came out after its release. While reviewing the film's 2013 Blu-ray release from Scream Factory, Scott Weinberg of FearNet wrote, The Burning is dated and sort of dull, but there's some amazing gore, and the new Blu-ray makes it shine. Leonard Maltin gave the film 1 out of a possible 4 stars, calling it an awful Friday the 13th ripoff. And I would like to point out, of all these critics and everything that I just read, that there is a common thread: the effects and the gore.
Yes. Tom Savini, that's the Tom Savini difference.
Tom Savini held it down. You know what, though? I don't like calling him Tom Savini just after watching one movie now. Every time I see him, I will hereby refer to him as Sex Machine.
Yes, Sex Machine. This movie has barely any plot. Just it's just the thinnest plot that you can string together to qualify as a movie. It's an hour and a half.
I think you missed a lot of the undertone of revenge and man overcoming adversity and finding his place not only among other men, but struggling to find who he is in his own sexuality. I think that's what you've missed. I have some more bullshit. Would you like to hear that too?
We'll save a little bit. We'll get back to that.
Okay.
So one thing, okay, this is what I'll talk about the negatives first. What I dislike
positives other than Savini or Sex Machine?
The negatives are it's fucking slow for about after the first kill. There's like a 30-minute break between the next kill, and it is lots of caricature development with the teens at the camp.
It was
give
a
shit
build
about
up to show boobies. It was a build up just to show naked girls. That's all that was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I liked about it, and this is what I love about these 80s, 81 kind of slashers, is just there's something that I love about that time period. You know, just the fashions and just the stuff that's going on. It just reminds me of that time period when, when I was like 8 or 9, that's when you really start becoming aware of the way people dress and the way what fashion is, or what's popular or whatever. It's just I just love that kind of that era. I do think it's so much fun, and I love movies set in that time period, like Prom Night, and of course, Slumber Party Massacre, Sleepaway Camp. Those movies just are so much fun to me because even if they're shitty, they're still pretty fun. And this one is probably more shitty than fun. This one is probably veers to the on the crap side, but there's a few good things about it.
That was really, the whole appeal of watching this movie, because these weren't movies that I was seeking out. These were movies that I would get and like, I want to watch this with Eric. Mm-hmm. This is going to be fun because just how ridiculous and crappy it is, but taking it just as that, not looking at it as anything other than like, oh my God, this is a crappy horror movie and we're going to see some horribly ridiculous things. And I need someone that also finds this funny.
Yeah.
I found that laughing at horror movies, sometimes people look at you weird.
This one is funny because it's almost like when you watch Sleepaway Camp on streaming, it looks too good. You know, I want to see a little bit of wavy, video tracking, trying to trying to correct, and these movies have been.
You're running that dial on the VCR, trying
to get it to show right, and these movies have gone under 4K restoration, so everything looks really, really good. And something is missing about taking that VHS and rewinding it, and putting it in there, and just maybe just you're missing that kind of sleaziness, I guess, of it. That kind of, oh man, we're gonna watch this crappy horror movie. Where now you just have the ability to, watch any crappy horror movie you want, because this one's on Tubi and Amazon Prime at the same time right now.
I was thinking about that because before they started mass producing like the rewinders, you could pop the tape and rewind it. You would get a movie like this and that would be stopped. It wouldn't be watched all the way through. And that was one of the joys, because you knew if I just go like 10 or 15 seconds, right? And then I hit play again, there's going to be just nudity.
Yeah.
Of how sad that was. And then, of course, the rewinders became more popular. And then they started charging people for not rewinding the movie. And then that didn't happen as much.
Back in my video store days when I was working at Hastings, the nightmarish night would be Sunday night. If you closed on Sunday, it was the worst because everybody would bring their movies back and nobody would fucking rewind them. So there was like a shelf with like 8 rewinders, so you'd have to find them and you'd pop them in, and then you'd have to put them back in the case, and then put the case on the cart, and then you'd have to go send it out. And there was just hundreds and hundreds of videotapes by the end of the night, and you couldn't leave until all the videos were put away. And it was just nightmarish. You're like, whatever, you're gonna go home, and it was like after midnight, and you're trying to put videos away.
I thought Hastings charged a rewind fee. I remember Bronco Video did.
I think they threatened to. But it was just too much of a hassle to to go and, all right, this one's not rewind. Okay, we're going to scan that one, and blah, blah, blah. There was just too many videos that are coming in where, like, if you had a small mom and pop store, you could see that, Bob didn't rewind this. I'm going to add a charge to it or whatever. There was tons of late fees, though. They made all their money on the late fees rather than the rewinding. So
that caused a lot of stress in my life as a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
Mom and dad would decide to rent a movie, and they're like, what was this late fee on this? Oh, they must have messed up. There's no way I would have rented that movie.
Yeah, exactly. Bikini car wash? I would never rent that.
You gross, Mom, Dad. Come on.
Emmanuel 4? What is that? I don't even know what that is.
The manual, I'll tell you what the Emmanuel 4 is so that you know all the features of whatever you've purchased. That's what the manual's for. So, like, you get a car. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Sylvia Crystal? Emmanuel?
Nope, nobody. I thought the manual for. I thought that was pretty.
Oh, hold on. There you go.
You let me down. Mm-hmm. You let me down.
So the plot, what little of there is of course at the beginning, these dudes, they're 5 douchey guys who are teens, quote unquote teens.
Yes, teens
are mad at Cropsy, who's the camp caretaker, and they're going to scare him. And they do a stupid, very lame prank of like this skull with like candles in its eyes, and it's covered with worms and stuff like that. And like, okay, whatever. But it does scare poor Cropsy, and he knocks the candles onto his bed, which apparently are soaked in gasoline.
the whole thing.
The whole thing is soaked in gasoline, and I guess he's sleeping in the maintenance shed because he winds up knocking over a can of gas, and then he's fully on fire. And that was a pretty cool fire stunt where the guy's in the fire suit running around all on fire. That was pretty cool. And then he gets burnt up. He is burnt up, and then they go to the hospital a week later for some reason, and you see this intern, and he's like, oh man, this guy's a freak. Let's take a look at the freak. And he grabs this new doctor, and he says, you want to see this guy? He's really fucked up or whatever, and then you see Cropsy's hand grab him, and it scares him. So it's another, jump scare. And I don't know how they treat burn patients. I don't. So this may be speaking out of ignorance, but wouldn't he have some sort of bandages or something on, or something,
Yes, there would definitely be some bandages on.
Burnt arm reaching out, look like a burnt hot dog.
So, but this is the same universe that they've decided to create here, where a dude that looks like he's 42 just got out of med school and is being led around by an intern telling him basically like it feels like he's taking him like the Godfather, like you got to be a man.
Exactly.
You got to look at the burned people.
You're not going to last in this job unless you see these people are all fucked up. Yeah, little odd. That's only a week later, and Rick Wakeman of the band Yes does the score. So it's very prog rocky, lots of keyboard.
No, that whole thing was just an exercise in tinnitus. That's all that was. Like my tinnitus is horrible. It's really, really bad. Way too much live music with no protection, right? But this that whole like for just minutes on end. Fuck you, guy from Yes. That was unnecessary.
Yeah. So 5 years later, Cropsey is healed up enough, and you hear the people talking, well, sorry, the skin grafts didn't take. You can come back in 6 months and, try to forget about those kids who burnt you up. We're trying to forget about all that. You'll be okay. Don't focus on revenge. Here's some money. Go buy a hooker and kill her.
It's not that you're going to have any kind of limited mobility because of the scar tissue or the damage to the muscle or anything that's done. Thank God you were doing yoga this whole time. And yes, time to go off in some hookers.
So he gets out, and his face is concealed in darkness, and he picks up a hooker first thing. I don't know, how he got the money or any whatever. So he goes upstairs and has a hooker in her room, and then he stabs her with a pair of scissors. And the next thing you know, we're at Camp Stonewater. Camp Stonewater.
I did want to point out, we haven't watched a ton of movies like this. There's only one other that comes to my memory. But were we just such solid citizens that we would bind to our word in an instant? Because we have seen one other movie where the kids were like, okay, we just fucking killed somebody. You got to swear not to say a word and take that to your grave. And everyone's like, okay, everybody hands in.
Take it to my grave, yeah.
Break. Okay, we're keeping. No one's going to say anything about the guy we just killed.
Yeah. And they don't. They keep it to themselves.
Keep it together, yes. Nobody's got any like weird things going on.
And they're young, just like the kids in prom night. These kids are like 9, 10, 11 years old, and they decide to make a lifelong pact.
Yeah, nobody tell. I'm going to get you if you tell.
It's just like the kids at the beginning of the movie. They're like decide to make a pact. They didn't, just set a guy on fire. So now we're at Camp Stonewater, and of course I see Dave, played by Jason Alexander, and I'm like, that's George Costanza. He's in the pool. Shrinkage.
I thought that a couple times myself too.
Yeah. So early 80s, I love it. I just love the early 80s aesthetic in these movies. I don't really like movies that try to recreate the 80s. I just love movies from that time period.
From the 80s.
There is a purity about this, because all this is here are the victims that you're going to see get killed later on in the movie. There, of course, is a shower scene immediately as soon as they get to camp with some sad titties. I'll say it. We should have the Joe Bob Briggs driving thing at the end. 2 pairs of sad titties.
You got to think of your own. Joe Bob's already masterfully done that.
Yeah, I know exactly. He's done that. Still love Joe Bob, going strong on Shudder. So at the beginning, you're wondering who is the guy, and this has a lot of what Neil hates in a movie, and that is first person.
First person. Can't stand that.
The killer cam.
And so lame.
When you're looking through Cropsey's view, they put some freaking Vaseline or something on the lens, so it looks kind of distorted. So that's how you know you're looking through the Cropsey cam. And when it's not, then it's just, it's just going to be some random douche like Alfred, aka Mark Ratner from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He gets busted for looking at the girls and scaring them. And like Neil talked about before, he doesn't get sent home. He doesn't get suspended or anything. He just gets a stern talking to from the counselor telling him not to be a pervert. From Todd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, please quit.
Don't look at the naked girls.
Don't.
And I wonder, looking through this through a 2024 perspective, is something wrong with Alfred besides being a pervert? Does he have some sort of like learning disability or something? Because all the rest of the movie, when he's in trouble, he just stands around with his mouth open.
Exactly.
And looks like, he looks like a young Woody Allen to me. Oh my God, it's a killer.
Sun Yi, I'm scared. Hold my hand.
I'm at the mess hall. Why is the portion so small?
There's a man that looks like a melted candle out in the woods. I swear.
What's up with mooning in 80s movies, in 70s movies? Why was mooning such a big deal?
I don't know, but thank God those guys knew how not to have, like a couple like waving danglers. They sucked it in a little bit. I didn't want to
see the pressed fruit bowl in this movie.
Yeah. Instead, we just got to see a lot of hairy ass crack. There was the ass hawk. The ass hawk took flight. It was out and it just went.
Hairy butts in HD. So yeah. Mm-hmm. So Woodstock is played by Fisher Stevens. He's hanging out with Dave, played by Jason Alexander, and Fisher Stevens is super, super thin. That kid is thin.
Yes.
Super thin. And
he was just referred to in our house, the dude, Johnny Five is Alive guy. That was who he was for the longest time.
And that's not problematic at all, of a white guy playing an Indian guy.
No.
So Costanza is providing, he's like the Red from Shawshank Redemption in this movie. He's supplying all the nudie mags and vitamin E. Why are they taking vitamin E? I don't understand.
Yeah, that I didn't quite get either.
Yeah. Vitamin E, nudie mags, and rubbers. Back when people called them rubbers. You should have got me some lubricated rubbers, man. And then we see Cropsy pinking in the window. That was kind of a cool part. He's like they're trying to build up that everybody's being watched and when is he finally going to kill somebody? But it takes 30 minutes. And Cropsy, the makeup on Cropsy is pretty cool. Tom Savini did a pretty good job on that one. And camping just looks like it sucks. It's not a good sales pitch for going camping.
Well, or camp. Period.
Camp. Yes, camp. That's true. Camp and camping are different, but camp, yeah, going to a summer camp. It's not fun. Just, and if sleepaway camp has taught us anything, the staff is not very good.
It's one of those things. If the staff is on top of it, there would be no trauma. We wouldn't have the movie.
That's true. So in a way, to pare down our victims, and for budget reasons, everybody or some people are going to go on a canoe trip down the river. So that is when Cropsy decides to like, hey, I'm finally going to start doing some stuff. Before all this happens, they have the cool campfire story where Todd is telling the story of Cropsy, and just like in Friday the 13th Part 2, when they're telling the story of Jason, somebody pretends and jumps out and scares everybody. And then you get your jump scare. Friday the 13th Part 2 did it much better.
Agreed. Yeah. Just realizing I'm just nodding. I should probably say something since this is mainly an auditory thing that we do.
One thing that was so obvious is that they shot scenes during the day and they put a blue filter on them to try to make it look at night. It was fucking terrible. Terrible.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the characters. Eddie is an aggressive asshole, treats ladies like shit. He's like the Italian kind of stereotype.
That guy was bipolar as hell. He was all over the place.
I know. He's like, hey, come take a skinny dip with me. And soon as the girl says, I don't want to, then he starts talking shit and just being a total asshole. And there's another guy named Glazer who is like another asshole.
It sounds like beat up Alfred. It should be playing dodgeball. Glazer and Blazer and Glazer.
So finally we get a death where Eddie and Karen are out, skinny dipping in the pool, and then Cropsy takes her clothes and she's walking around naked, and then he does a brutal neck slashing. Good special effects on that one. And then Eddie lives, and then Cropsy moves everybody's canoe, so everybody's got to go look for the canoe. So they make a raft, and this is the highlight of the movie when these like 5 people are on this raft, and they're bitching at each other and they're kind of having fun or whatever. And they see one of their canoes in the middle of the water, like, "Hey, grab the canoe!" Who's hiding in the canoe? Cropsy. And he does this raft massacre where he's cutting off fingers, stabbing people in the necks, cutting people's top of their heads off.
That was probably one of the worst parts of the movie, because just this guy jumps up and everyone all of a sudden, what do you like, those fainting goats? Everyone just kind of like, ew, oh, I got my fingers chopped off. Just sit there and lay down and wait for the guy to put one of these things in your neck.
Put these in your neck. When he kills Eddie, you could tell that Eddie's lying on his back and there's a fake body on top of him. And then they use the prosthetic thing for the blood and stuff. It looks really, really bad when you see the shot of the knife of the garden shears coming out of his neck. And it's totally like, you can totally see that. It probably looked better on VHS when it's not so
when
clear.
It wasn't 4K. When it
wasn't so clear.
Up.
But yeah, this is when he kills 5 people at once. It's the best part. It's the best part of the movie. It's really the only reason to watch the movie is the raft massacre. And then, of course, the creepy guy Glazer, who's like putting the make on all the girls, him and the other girl, Sally, they're going to have sex on the shore. And what happens?
Sally has sex on the shore with seashells, and you get some alliteration in there.
Shears.
5 times. Ooh, killed with the shears.
Yeah, so Sally gets it, and then Glazer gets it, which is kind of a cool look where he pretty much gets lifted off the ground with the shears and impaled. So the body count is starting to pick up a little bit, but then Alfred is in the background just watching like a goon with his mouth open. Ooh. Yeah, I wish you could see Neil's impersonation. Eyes wide open, mouth agape. Yeah.
That would lose the 4 people that we have that listen if they could actually see what we look like as we did this.
Yeah. So then Alfred wakes up Todd, and there's a long chase scene of Cropsy chasing Alfred all over the area. And the remaining campers, including George Costanza, they all go back to the camp to get help and the police. And then, so this scene is extended, and it's supposed to be suspenseful, but it's like anti-suspense. You're just like, well, come on, let's go. Come on, let's go.
And for no reason, we're just going to Alfred. I enjoyed the look on this kid's face every time. It just gave me some validation. That look of awestruck shock he had with his mouth open, keeping him alive.
Yeah. So they wind up in like an abandoned mine, and Cropsy impales his shear against the wall, and Alfred's arm is caught. So Alfred is incapacitated.
Alfred's other arm doesn't work, and there's no way he could have grabbed that thing.
So Todd and Cropsy have a showdown with a blowtorch and, the whole deal. Looks like Todd's going to get it. And then finally Alfred rises to the occasion and stabs Cropsy. And is he dead?
More importantly, is his mouth open when he lights him on fire?
Probably was.
Yeah, I believe it was.
Like, God, grab the blowtorch.
Maybe this was about the lack of medical care provided to these kids. Maybe this kid just had like a really bad nasal infection. He had a pretty big beak on him. He could have had a bad nasal infection, was not able to breathe.
That's why his mouth was open all the time.
He was going into the showers because he needed that heat and that humid air to try to like start moving around the mucus. Mm-hmm. Sorry you were in here naked. That's why maybe he understands Cropsy's difficulties. I imagine that Cropsy had some respiratory issues as well.
So Cropsy is not dead. And then Todd takes an axe, and in a really good effect, just axes him right in the head. It's a nice, juicy axe killing, and the blood spurting out. It looks like, that was probably my second favorite kill of the movie is when Cropsy gets the axe to the face. And then the helicopter shows up, and our people are rescued. And they have some idiot talking about the Cropsy curse again. And he basically is yelling it into the camera, and then the movie's over. 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Far too long.
Yeah, they could have cut those chase scenes down by a lot. They're padding the time. And I will say, if you are a slasher fan, a slasher completist, or you just like horror movies, this is worth watching. It's fun in that kind of time capsule of the 80s way, especially when Costanza brings the nudie mags to everybody, and that he's putting out the hustlers and the penthouses and the playboys and stuff like that to the guys. And you're like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You guys are perverts.
And it's fun. It's on Tubi right now for free and Amazon Prime for free if you have that.
I would recommend Tubi 100% to watch this. Mm-hmm. Not just because it's free, is that there's advertisements to break up the doldrum.
Yeah. When I watched it on Amazon, they only had advertisements at the front of the movie, which I think are perfect because you can go get a snack, walk around, just get comfortable, and then all of a sudden the movie starts and you're ready for it. So not too bad, but let's talk about Tom Savini. And, I included his Wikipedia page. Guy has done some amazing work. He is responsible for so many good movies. He did, as an actor, he's done a lot of movies. Of course, Sex Machine in From Dusk Till Dawn. He was in Dawn of the Dead as a biker. He was acting in Zack and Mary Make a Porno. Is interesting. He was in Machete, Django Unchained. The Perks of Being a Wallflower. That's interesting. That's kind of like a straight drama. Interesting for him to be in that one. But as far as makeup effects, he was in Death Dream, an early movie by the director of Black Christmas. Death Dream is when it's kind of like the monkey's paw, where like their son dies in Vietnam and they wish him to come back, and he comes back as a zombie, and it's not good.
So I'm looking at this list, and it's I'm wondering about. I believe I saw, and it was late at night, that there is a movie that a bunch of people that had gotten killed in Friday the 13th movies made about an obsessed fan who tracks them all down and kills them for real.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I can't think of the name of it. And when I saw it, I was like, I need to get this. But we were in the hotel when I saw it come on, and I could have rewound if I'd been home. But there is a movie, and yeah, it's got all these actors who got offed by Jason, and apparently this guy who loved the movies, and it was the only thing he had to do, locked in a closet or something like this, was watch these films. We're like family, and they're like, okay, great, move along. I got to sign the next autograph. So he decides to kidnap them all and kill them for real. Mm-hmm. It's totally looks like a B movie, but this, I thought of you.
I think the pinnacle of Tom Savini's work was in Day of the Dead in 1985. He did some of the best zombies he's ever done. Lots of creative blood and people, getting torn apart and stuff like that. I think Day of the Dead is his apex of his effects abilities. Did a really good job in Creepshow.
Yes, that was going to be mine. I enjoyed his work in Creepshow.
Yeah, that one was a really good one. The Prowler has some nice meaty head explosions. Same with Maniac. Dawn of the Dead. So he is just a legend. Just tons of good stuff. He started as a stuntman as well. So he has his own makeup effects program in Pennsylvania at a college, which would be kind of cool to go, be part of that.
What'd you get your bachelor's in? Savini.
Mm-hmm. That'd be pretty sweet. So I gave my list of top slasher movies. And this is one of those things that could change day by day. This could be, this list could change, just depending on my mood. But when I watched The Burning, I decided to make a top 10 slasher movies, not including supernatural killers like Chucky and Freddy. And I didn't include any Italian giallo movies because those are their own specific type of movie.
Horrible? Are you trying to say horrible?
No, I'm saying, they're different, specific to the, genre. Some are horrible. Some are really good. Yeah. So number 10, The Prowler. It's not great story-wise, but I like the final girl and I like the nice Savini kills. My Buddy Valentine is fun. especially when they go into the mine. There's some really kind of graphic kills going on in that one. A Scream, of course. A Scream. I saw anything. Have you seen a Scream? So Scream from '96. Love that one. Really reinvented the slasher movie. That's number 8. Number 7, Prom Night, which we just watched recently. I think I enjoyed it because we just watched it recently. That's a fun one. Slumber Party Massacre.
You have Prom Night on here twice.
Oh, I did? Damn. Uh-oh. That's true.
Prom Night. You liked Prom Night so much, you decided to sandwich it between
I put it at
Slumber
5
Party
and 6.
Massacre.
So Slumber Party Massacre. Sleepaway Camp at number 4. Texas Chainsaw at 3. Friday the 13th Part 2 at number 2. And the original Halloween at number 1.
I would just like to say, as for all 4 of our listeners, that this is not Eric's top 10 list. This is Eric's top 9 list.
Well, I will go back and put Friday the 13th Part 4 at number 5.
Okay, that's a good choice. You give this way more thought than I do. I just look at your list and I'm like, oh, that was good. That was good. Yeah, that was good. I don't categorize quite as much as you do. But though, yeah, see, that's a tough one for me. I'm looking at your 1 and 2, Halloween and Friday the 13th Part 2, because rarely do I vacillate in my like for movies, where I know it depends on your mood and time of year and what you're in the mood for. I'm usually in the mood for the same thing at all times, but that's a tough one because those are both so good. And I would stop to watch either one of those, especially around Halloween. Mm-hmm. And, the fall, I would definitely watch either one of those. So that's a tough one.
Yeah. I think Halloween gets the edge just because it's the kind of like it made the format. It created a lot of the tropes and the things that we are familiar with when it comes to slasher movies. And, that steady cam, perfect cinematography. Michael Myers is scariest at this point. And I think Halloween edges out. But as far as just a pure fun summer camp slasher, Friday the 13th Part 2 can't be beat. It's got the best cast of victims. It's got the best final girl with Ginny. Jason is scary and fast. It is just fun. I love Friday the 13th Part 2, and I will defend it till the end because it's so good.
Speaking of fun, they're going to do a Terrifier 3.
Yeah, I saw that.
Have you seen the first 2?
I've seen the first one, and I've not seen the second. It just seems like it's gore for gore's sake, and it's like for the try-hard horror fan crowd. I'll probably get some hate from that one, but it's okay. I don't know. It's just like extreme. It's like it's like the Monster Energy drink of horror movies.
It's the Mountain Dew of horror movies with Monster Energy drink on top of it. I'd never watched those movies all the way through. I would watch like 10 or 15 minutes and I would get the fill. I'm like, oh boy, that was gross. That was over the top. Pause. Watch something else. Like, yeah. 100%. My wife has now become obsessed with the clown. They're
really?
They're the memes of it sitting there and then smiling really big.
Yeah.
Like when they're in the diner. It's like, I really think I want to see that movie. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't want to see it.
The one where I think it's the beginning of the first one where they talk to the girl and she's all mutilated. Her face is just totally fucked up. She's the victim. Like survived his attack, and she looks just really, really. The effects are unsettling on that lady who's the victim. I was like, God damn. And then you see some of the cutting people in half or like down the middle, and it's gore for gore's sake, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying negating the people who are fans because there's a market for that type of horror. I'm just not really mine.
You need story and substance as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You need some plot. You need to have some anima in your slasher movies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do we want to talk about Collider's best slasher movies of all time ranked, or we're at already an hour and 4 minutes and I'll cut this out.
Fuck it. In for a penny, in for a pound. If they've listened to this point, let's go.
Collider's best slasher movies of all time ranked. So this is the 35 best. The Mutilator from 1984. Have not seen this one. There's a lot of slashers I haven't seen. I always think, man, I've seen them all, but now I've got to add The Mutilator.
See, I feel pretty good because I've actually seen The Mutilator.
Hush came out in 2016. Mike Flanagan. I have not seen it, but I hear it's good. Out of the Dark in 88. I've not seen that one.
Nope, no, haven't seen it.
Curtains, which I have seen. The only good part is the lady in the weird mask skating on the ice and cutting a person with a sickle. The rest is kind of like some actors reliving some audition and the crazy lady, and that's the only thing I really remember about it. Just that's the one that sticks out as far as like being good. Stage Fright, number 31. Michel Soave. This is a Italian horror movie taking people getting killed during a theater production by a giant masked owl guy with a chainsaw. Not bad. Fun.
I'm down for the owl mask.
Yeah. I Know What You Did Last Summer from 1997. It always felt like it is a teen movie. It always felt like reading a Goosebumps or some sort of teen YA fiction or something.
29 is good. I like that one. I actually watched it, and my wife liked that one too.
Freaky. Yeah, that's good. That was a lot more fun than I expected it to be. And 28 is The Prowler, which we've talked about a little bit. Lots of good kills. House on Sorority Row. I've been meaning to watch that because it's on Shudder. Have not seen it yet. Bay of Blood. I have seen this one. It is very good. Mario Bava, Italian horror movie. A lot of kills have been ripped off from this movie in Friday the 13th, Part 1 and 2. The spear between the people while they're laying in bed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the machete to the face while they're, while the guy's standing there, kind of when the guy went down the steps in the wheelchair. That was ripped off from Bay of Blood. Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. That's Part 4. Good one. Scream 2. Meh. It's all right. A little long. It's not terrible. I think Scream 4 is my favorite of the new Screams. The one with Emma Roberts.
I've seen all of them, and I find them incredibly forgettable.
4 I liked, and the new 5 and 6 aren't bad with the new young cast.
I enjoy them when I'm watching them, but there's no way I could tell you which was which. 23. Have you seen X?
I have X. I enjoyed it. It's a little bit of a slow burn at the beginning, but it's the beginning of the Pearl trilogy with this one, Pearl and Maxine. And I have Pearl on the DVR, but I haven't watched it yet. But X was pretty good. It's kind of a throwback horror movie. Little slow at the beginning, but then there's some nice juicy kills at the end, near the end. You're Next, which I hear is really good, and I've been meaning to watch this one. You got Happy Death Day, which is good. I like that one. 1 and 2 are pretty good.
What? Yeah, but 2 turns it more into like a weird sci-fi kind of.
Yeah.
thing.
Number 1 is better, I think.
Yeah, just
because of the slashers part. Final Destination. I don't even know if you would call that one a slasher.
I don't think it is. It's more of a, hey, I never want to be behind a lumber truck ever again,
or get on a faulty roller coaster. We need to do these. We have not yet. I can't believe we haven't even started them yet. We're going to have to do that do at least one by the end of the year.
Never cheat death, man. Never cheat death.
My Bloody Valentine, which is good, especially if you see the uncut one. There's some really gruesome kills. Candyman, supernatural slasher. That's a good one. Classic. Blood and Black Lace. I have seen this one. It's another Mario Bava joint. One of the original Giallo movies where these fashion models are getting killed by a masked, gloved killer. Really good Technicolor. Pretty Italian ladies getting killed.
Skip.
Intruder. I have seen a little bit of. It's got Sam Raimi's an actor in this one. People trapped in a grocery store getting killed. Grocery stores closing. It's his last night being open, and then people are getting hacked. Came out in 89. Sleepaway Camp is number 15. That one is amazing in its cheesiness, but also the ending. Just
speaking of hanging out with your mouth hanging wide open.
Yeah, Sleepaway Camp is just essential summertime slasher movie. The Burning is 14. I would not put The Burning ahead of Sleepaway Camp or Friday the 13th Part 4. Opera, Dario Argento, probably his last really good movie.
Okay, number 12. I completely 100% think it should not even be on the list.
Dream Warriors? Dream Warriors is good.
Yeah, sorry.
We're the Dream Warriors.
Sorry, Don Dokken, you ruined it for me.
Tenebrae, Dario Argento. It's really, really good.
We're starting to Italian up this list a little bit, and I'm not feeling comfortable with it.
Tenebrae has this amazing kill where this girl's wearing a white blouse and she's against a white wall, and this guy hacks her arm off and she sprays blood, just bright red blood all over the wall, and it's very kind of artsy. Kind of like it's just like when
the glee with which you waved your arm from side to side to describe this was the best.
Remember, if you watch Kill Bill, where Bill's assistant Sophie gets her arm slashed off, that's what it totally rip off from Tenebrae. Number 11, Child's Play. Number 10.
I don't think that is a slasher movie.
Yeah, supernatural ones I don't really think are slasher ones. Friday the 13th Part 1 is number 9.
Okay. We can skip number 8. Number 8's just doesn't.
Deep Red. We're going to watch that here during Halloween month of Halloween season. Dario Argento's Deep Red. It's really good, stylistic. Peeping Tom, which I have seen, classic early slasher movie where the guy literally has like a knife at the end of his tripod and he's very phallically stabbing women while he records them. It was banned for a long, long time. Black Christmas is number 6. I know you will disagree with that.
I disagree with that movie even existing.
Number 5, Texas Chainsaw. It should be higher. Top 3 at least.
Definitely.
Nightmare on Elm Street is number 4. Scream, number 3. A little high for Scream. Psycho, number 2. I think that was kind of like the one that started it all. And then number 1, Halloween.
Where it should be.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, the wonderful things that Haddonfield has brought to us.
So that is The Burning. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. We will be back next week with The Last Dragon with Bruce Leroy.
Oh, yeah. Who's the Shogun of Harlem?
Talk about 80s. This is going to be an 80s movie.
Some of the 80s martial arts, man. I love it. Love it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Bad.
So check out The Last Dragon before we talk about it. And we appreciate you listening. If you want to send us an email, rvspodcast222@gmail.com. We are on the threads. We are on Instagram. And we are on Facebook. Check us out. And we really appreciate you listening. And
you could buy us a coffee if you wanted to.
Yes, buymeacoffee.com. Look up the Retro Video Store. And our listens are going up. So, yay. I guess it really, if you put out content, people will listen to it. So that's always
good. If you make it, they would listen.
Yes, exactly. So,
yes.
But thank you so much, everybody. David will be back next week. And have a good week.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store Podcast.